I am the shadow teacher, and I did a video on following your dreams regardless of uncertain times, moving forward in the spirit of love and creativity, regardless if the media is telling you that the world is falling apart around you, and even if the fucking world is. And I said I would offer a tool into how to practically do that. And when we look at thoughts, I made videos as well where I say thoughts are not things. Thought with an emotion, a charged thought with emotion becomes something. And there's a little bit more to it. So when we look at thoughts, we are bombarded with countless thoughts throughout the day. They come and go within ourselves, and then when we have outside sources, for instance, like the gaslighting, corporate media, bullshit, social media, they bombard us with the stories that they want to pull us into. They want to pull our creativity and our consciousness into the frame that they want. That is why corporate media runs the same type of news story throughout the day. They're cycling the same fucking thing. And people who think that they have to stay informed because they have to know what's next are actually a few steps behind if they're glued to the TV watching the news. They're actually reacting to what that transmitter, the source of that transmission, wants you to react to, wants you to fall into frame. And it's very much intentional. And when one does that, and we can say too that this particular type of media feeds off of fear. You are rarely going to find anything positive or uplifting in the corporate news, in the corporate media. It's all going to be fear-based. It's all going to be getting you into a fear reactionary state. And I'm not saying there are things you don't need to be afraid of. Fear is a valuable frequency of information, but when we are constantly in that state, we're not able to access creativity. Social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, we get short bursts of very distracting information, and most people get addicted to that. They just get used to scrolling their feeds, and it's boom, 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 boom. Distraction, distraction, distraction. Meme, tweet, whatever, reel. All these really short bursts. And if someone gets in the habit of scrolling social media throughout the day, they get really poor at concentrating. They get really poor at holding a single thought over an extended period of time. Most people just can't do that. And again, the book I'm working through right now, this is Franz Barden's Initiation into Hermetics. The second exercise in the book is holding a single thought, sitting still and holding a single thought for 5 minutes. And the exercise before that is the observation of thoughts, letting your thoughts pass, observing them like clouds in the sky. I made a video on that before. So you first need to get good at recognizing your thoughts come and go. You are not your thoughts, separating from that. And then, if you want to work into more of a creative space, holding a single thought. I'm going to share a personal story about 9/11, about where I was at that time. Now, in my country, in the United States, when 9/11 hit, it was somewhat of an apocalyptic time, or it felt like that for a lot of people, but not for me. See, I had just moved to Atlanta, Georgia. I moved from my home in North Carolina. My dream at that time was to make a living as a recording artist, to make a living with my music, playing original music. I had just recorded a CD with my band in North Carolina, and we'd scored a distribution deal on an independent label, and there were some offers for some independent labels that were interested in signing the band, and the rest of the band quit. They bailed. There was not much of a scene in North Carolina for the kind of music we were playing, but I didn't want to quit. I still wanted to keep going, so I picked up and moved to Atlanta. Had a couple of guys who wanted to try this with me. Catch was they were inexperienced. My band that I played with, who recorded that CD, they've been on stages, were very experienced musicians and performers. These guys, they had the heart, they wanted to try it, but were marginal in their ability at that time, and they had never been on stages before. So I said, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to figure out a way to make this work. I'm going to see if I can teach these guys how to play this music and represent this music on the CD, and we're going to go to Atlanta, and we are going to fucking build a fan base and make it. And so when we got there, we didn't have any place to stay. One of my bandmates had a cousin there, and that was our only lead, and that was just enough to get us into the city to start scoping out places to stay. And when we actually moved there, we were all kind of packed into this big van, and we were living initially in a rental house and then moved to a hotel room. And our mission at the time was we need a place to practice where we can live, essentially. A place that's going to have a kitchen, a shower, but we can be loud, and ideally in the city. And we got a lead on a place, but it was not quite ready. It was a warehouse loft space, but it wasn't quite ready when we got there. And we were still floating around. So we're living, at this point, we're in hotels, and 9/11 happens. See something on the news, see this televangelist, Rod Parsley, my favorite televangelist from an entertainment perspective, and he's talking about terrorists. I said, why is Rod Parsley talking about Islamic terrorists? And then we find out that 9/11 happened. And we had to check out of that hotel. We were done there, and we were about to go into a rehearsal space again and set up camp there. So we go into this rehearsal space. We have no access to television, very, very limited access to the outside world. We are living off of tuna fish and trail mix at this time, and we get a gym membership at the Y so we can go and take showers. But we're living in this rehearsal space, three of us, and we are focusing on being a band, learning how to recreate what's on the CD that's performed by more experienced musicians. And we just woodshed. We didn't have a drummer. So eventually we find a drummer, and he's in there with us as well, and we're just determined to make this band work. But we're immune a little bit to the chaos around us. We have no idea what's going on. Our focus at this point is just learning the CD, getting to where we can represent what's there and perform competently. And eventually, again, a place works out for us. We get to this place where we have a warehouse space that has a shower and a kitchen that opens up, that's in the city. So it's perfect for us and what we're needing to do at the time. And we go in, and a few months down the road, we're booking gigs. We're out performing locally, and eventually we land a residency gig, a weekly gig in a club in a city that we did not come from, that we didn't grow up in, that we didn't have a fan base in. Nobody knew who we were. And the band was highly inexperienced, but yet we were able to get people to give a shit about what we were doing and get good enough at it to where we could land these regular, highly sought after local gigs, and a weekly one at that. So again, at that time, all of us, we were focused on this one thing. Our emotions, our thoughts were held on making this band work. And we were able to do that despite the chaos in the world, despite all that was going on with 9/11, all the fallout from that, we were kind of in a different zone, and we were making our dreams happen. We were making that work. Now, eventually, we hit a ceiling that we couldn't break through. Otherwise, you would probably know me as something else. But point being, in the time when the world was in chaos, we were moving forward out of love and tapping into our creativity. And we had these synchronicities. They call this, I guess, when your reticular activation system, when you're in this certain frequency, when you're going forward and you're very clear, you're able to visualize where you want to go, and you're very clear on that, you just see things pop up. And all of us, we had slightly different gifts, and we were able to use all of our gifts to establish what we needed in Atlanta at that time, to go from being homeless, not knowing where we're going, or people, or actually we knew where we were going, but people not knowing who we were, and not having anything set, to getting things established, just moving from that love, moving from that vision. And synchronicities happened. We saw the opportunities, and then we just all were able to jump on them and keep moving forward in a meaningful way. So, as I said before, when the world is in chaos, what's needed is not more fear and chaos, not more feeding the fear frequency, but feeding the frequencies of love and creativity. This book by Dr. David Hawkins, Power versus Force, talks about frequency and everything being frequency and vibration. And fear is on this low frequency level, and then we have higher frequencies of love. And when we get on these higher frequencies, we're able to create and add value to the life process. But when we're down the low frequency, we're usually taking. We're working more as a parasite and feeding the Watiko, feeding the mind virus, feeding the darkness that is controlling perception. So I encourage you, whatever you do, you may not have something that's as emotionally charged as what I did. That's the trick. Sometimes when this has happened to me, it was just kind of dumb luck, and chaotic, catastrophic situations in the outside world actually worked in my favor, because I was emotionally invested in this thing and I wasn't willing to let go of it. So I was able to hold my thoughts and charge those thoughts with emotion, and through an extended period of time, without even doing the disciplined exercises. But point of this video is just to break down the principle. And even if you don't have that, if you simply work at disciplining your thoughts, work at observing the thoughts and then holding a single thought, then it's going to open up space for you to act creatively on that thought. You start to become that thought. It changes you on a cellular level. And again, the corporate gaslighting media knows this. They are changing you on a cellular level because you're focusing on the thoughts they want you to focus on. But when you focus on what you want to focus on, then you start to take the power back. So be strong, be well, my friends, and I will see you on the other side.